Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to Reflections video of Shankar IAS Academy. In this video, we are going to see how many questions has been reflected from daily current affairs in the UPSC Preliminary Examination 2025. So far, 41 questions out of 100 has actually been reflected in the preliminary examination. And while making this video, we can understand one thing, UPSC has not asked questions only past 1 year, but it has asked questions from past 5 years. So let us see them one by one in this video. Now look at this first question. It is about the types of vehicle. Here solving this question might be tricky because of this term, alternative powertrain vehicle. So what is this alternative powertrain vehicle is? It was actually in news. It is nothing but a propulsion systems for vehicle that are not solely based on the traditional internal combustion engine. So if you can decode this particular thing, you can directly arrive at the answer. So we have actually discussed about the types of e-vehicles on our video on January 4th, 2025. Along with that, we have even discussed about hydrogen cell, how it works and how it is produced on October 25, 2024. So based on these two discussions, you can not only attend the first question, you can attend the third question, which asks about electric vehicle batteries. Now look at this fifth question. It asks about coal gasification technology. So we have actually discussed about coal gasification technology in our Shankar's summary video. In this Shankar's summary video, we have made lot of questions that were in the current affairs based on different subjects, and we have posted it, and in that we have explained about coal gasification, and the correct answer for this particular question is option B, 2 only. Now look at this particular question. This question is about Majorana 1 chip. So this Majorana 1 chip is actually, we have discussed in February 26, 2025 newspaper analysis. In that we have talked about Microsoft's new quantum chip. It is nothing but this Majorana 1. So here, if you could easily eliminate second option, you can directly arrive at the answer, which is option C, 1 and 3 only. So it is not introduced by AWS, but it was introduced by Microsoft. We have actually discussed this in our video. Now look at this question about monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies was in news because of Nipah virus. On July 15, 2024, it has been said that in 2025, that is the current year, India might go on monoclonal antibody trials. So we have discussed about that in the video on July 15, 2024. So if you had watched this video, you can directly answer this question. Here the correct answer for the question is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Now look at this question. This question is about Article 6 of Paris Agreement. Now this Article 6 of Paris Agreement was in news because US was telling that it is going to withdraw from the Paris Agreement entirely. So this actually it gave a shock wave to the world, and that is why it was in news, and based on that this question has been asked. So we have discussed this Article 6 on 26th October 2024. So you can see that here in the article. So if you have viewed this, you can directly arrive at the answer, which is option A. Both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, and both of them explains statement 1. Now look at this question. This question is about Peacock Tarantula. Now Peacock Tarantula, based on this name, you might think it is actually a bird or it might be a butterfly. But here this Peacock Tarantula is a spider, and it has been in news on 2019. Now look at this, UPSC has gone 5 years, 6 years back to ask this particular question. So UPSC might ask questions like that in once in a blue moon. Obviously, we could not go that back and revise for our current examination, right? So when you don't have any idea about such things, you can leave that question. It is the most recommended thing. You can actually leave the question if you don't have any idea about it. But we have covered it on 28th August 2019 when it was in news, telling that rare tarantula sighted in Villupuram district. So if you could have had an idea that it is a spider, you could have actually answered the question, and the correct answer here is option D, 2 and 3. only. Now moving on, talking about the non-cooperation program, there were two different questions. One was asked about the nature of the program and another question was asked which was about the declaration made during the non-cooperation movement. So we have talked about both the questions during our so we have talked about non-cooperation movement on our October 2nd 2023 video. This is actually a special video made for MK Gandhi's birthday, and we discussed the entire 10 minutes. It was actually discussed about the main contributions of MK Gandhi to the independence of our country. So in that video, we have discussed in detail about non-cooperation movement, and if you had watched that video exclusively made, you could easily answer that question. Now apart from that, there was question about famous saying by Gandhi, sedition has become my religion. So this particular thing was said by Gandhi while publicly violating the salt law at Dundee. So while talking about this special video, we have mentioned about these dialogues. Next question is about Chauri Chaura incident. This Chauri Chaura incident was also covered in this MK Gandhi video. So here the correct answer for the particular question is Madan Mohan Malaviya and Krishna Kant. Now this 94th question, it is also about Gandhi. So the question asks after which event he has decided to include the upliftment of Harijans. Here the correct answer for the question is option A, the Pune Pact. We have discussed about that in the MK Gandhi video, as well as we have specifically discussed about this in our 20th December 2024 video. So here from a very single video, you could actually answer 3 to 4 questions, and that is why we have made special videos like that. Now moving on, let's look at this question. This question is actually talking about the ancient Indian ruler, and it specifically mentioned about Vichitra Chitta. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, Mahendra Varman I. See, Pallava dynasty is a very important dynasty, especially when it comes to art and architecture. So for mains, you have to obviously learn about it for sure, and in prelims it has been asked. So we have discussed about this many times. To be specific, we have discussed about it on 23rd Jan 2021. Here you can see the specific title of Mahendra Varman I. So if you could have watched this video, you could have easily answered this question. Now look at this 26th question. It says, who among the following led a successful military campaign against the king of Sri Vijaya, the powerful maritime state which ruled the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra, Java and the neighboring islands? Here the correct answer is option C, Rajendra I Chola. And we have discussed this in our summary video, especially the history video. So it was actually in news because Port Blair had its new name, and while talking about that topic, we were talking about that Sri Vijaya. So here the correct answer for the question is option C, Rajendra I. Now look at this 31st question. This is actually a direct question from our current affairs video. It is talking about alternative investment funds. So here only two options are correct, and we have talked about this alternative investment fund and which categories comes under this alternative investment fund in our August 1st 2024 video. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option B, only 2. Now look at this 32nd question. It is about RBI. So the question is asking which of the following is the sources of income for RBI. So we have actually talked about RBI detailedly on 8th February 2025 very recently, and we even talked about the income sources and what are all their monetary policy tools and what are all the fiscal policy tools. And in that discussion, from that discussion we can directly arrive at the answer option D, 1, 2 and 5 only. Now look at this 33rd question. Here 3 columns are given. First column organization, second column is some of its functions, third column is it works under. So here we have actually discussed about the first two things. Both of them were frequently in news, and the first thing, Directorate of Enforcement, in short called as, or in other word called as Enforcement Directorate, ED. So we have discussed this on July 20th, 2024. And about this Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, it was also in news. We have discussed this on September 12, 2024. So you can see that UPSC has actually combined 2 or 3 different newses in one particular question. So this is actually a very important strategy of UPSC, that you have to be trained yourself. So if you could have watched all the video, you could have easily arrived at the answer, which is option B, only 2. Now moving on, look at this 34th question. This 34th question is mainly on Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report, BRSR. See, BRSR was actually in news years ago, to be frank, on 11th May 2021. So here the correct answer for the question is option B, 2 only. Now look at this 36th question. It is about Minerals Security Partnership. See, this Minerals Security Partnership and critical minerals were frequently in news. Very recently, even with Australia, it made an agreement to explore the critical minerals there. So the critical minerals, it actually changes depending upon the country. So the central government will be choosing the important critical minerals. So even to recently we had amendment to it, and we have discussed about that on 20th March 2021. And even on January 29, 2025, we have discussed about the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957, which governs mining, including the critical minerals. So here, the correct answer for the particular question is option C, 1 and 3 only. Now moving on, look at this 41st question. It asks about how many of them are the members of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Here we have covered about NATO very recently on July 4th, 2024. We have discussed about the existing members and the members they are being discussed. So we have talked about everything. So here the correct answer for the question is option B, only 4. Now look at this question. 44th question, it talks about turmeric, and during the year 2022 to 23. So it is not asking 2023 to 24, but asking for 2022 to 23. So we have actually talked about turmeric a year ago. From that, on 9th March 2020, we discussed about in detail about turmeric, what is the condition for it to grow, and which is the largest producer of turmeric, and we even talked about the GI tax. So here, based on that, we can directly arrive at the answer option D, 1, 2, and 3. Now look at this 51st question. This 51st question is actually about panchayats. So panchayats was recently many times in news due to lack of proper fund disposal to the panchayats. So this particular question actually talks about the legality or the constitutional provisions of the panchayats. So we have discussed that on March 6th, 2025, very recently in our editorial analysis. So based on that, we can directly arrive at the answer option D, 1, 2, and 3. Now look at this 52nd question about bimstick. Bimstick was also very recently in news. Here 4 statements are given and only one first statement is alone correct. We have discussed about bimstick very detailedly in our Shankar summary in our editorial and international relations current affairs. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer. Now look at this 57th question about BRICS. So both are about international relations, and that is why we had made a separate video on economy as well as international relations. So here it talks about the 16th BRICS summit. It has been already taken as it has already been discussed on December 27, 2024. Here you can see the exact video. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option A, 1 and 2 only. Now moving on, look at this 58th question about LOPAL. LOPAL and Lokayukta is a very important institution that helps for the checks and balances in our country. So here different tricky the statements has been given, and we have discussed about the basics organizational setup of LOPAL as well as Lokayukta in our February 21, 2025 very recent video in our newspaper analysis. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option A, 3 only. Now moving on, the 62nd question, it is about KAWATCH. So this KAWATCH, we all know very recently there was a very huge collision of two trains which led lot of lives, and based on that incident only this question has been asked. So KAWATCH, it has been discussed by us on June 26, 2024 very detailedly in our editorial analysis. So it is nothing but an indigenous cab signaling train control system with anti-collision system. It is actually an anti-collision system. So while the collision happened, the KAWATCH was actually in news multiple times, and that is why it has been asked as a question in UPSC preliminary examination. Now moving on, look at this question. Here three different space missions has been given. So we have talked about Axiom 4 very recently on May 1st, 2025. It has asked, we have discussed on May 1st. And another mission is about Gaganyaan. We have talked about it on Jan 31st, 2025. So this 2025 is actually a Gaganyaan year as per ISRO, and that is why this question might have been asked. So it talks about microgravity research. So all the space station, they will be in space, and obviously they will support the microgravity research. So if you have this basic understanding, you can directly arrive at the answer option C, all the three. Now moving on, look at this 66th question about the pardoning power of president. So it was also very recently in news frequently, and we have discussed about the difference between the pardoning power of Indian president as well as US president, and there is a difference between pardoning power of governor and the president as well. We have discussed all that on December 11, 2024. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option A, 1 only. Now moving on, look at this 68th question. This particular question is talking about disqualification, especially the 10th schedule. So we have actually discussed about the disqualification under the February 21, 2025 video newspaper analysis. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option D, neither 1 nor 2. Now look at the 69th question. This question is about talking about the powers possessed by the state government and central government when it comes to dealing with the minor as well as major minerals. So we have talked about that in detail in December 17, 2024 video. We have even discussed about who controls what. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option D. Statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. Now moving on, look at the 70th question. It talks about nature restoration law, NRL. So this NRL was actually in editorial, and we have discussed this on October 22, 2024. Now look at the pattern UPSC has asked the questions. It is straight away there in the editorials, and that is why you have to read editorials. So we have discussed in detail about what is this nature restoration law on October 22, 2024. If you have seen that, you can directly arrive at the answer. Now look at the 72nd question, which talks about International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC. So very recently, when there was issue with Afghanistan as well as Pakistan, India made an alternative INSTC, and this was actually discussed on May 18, 2025 very recently. And while the agreement was made, it was frequently in news as well during the November month of 2024. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, India to Central Asia, a Europe via Iran route. Now look at the 73rd question. This question is talking about ethanol producers, and if you have the basic understanding about ethanol production, you can directly arrive at the answer. We have discussed that in detail in October 18, 2024 daily newspaper analysis. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option D. Statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. Now moving on, look at the 76th question. It is about 15th Finance Commission, and specific informations have been given, and 4 different statements have been given. The UPSC is actually making the paper lengthy so that you could not solve it on time. So, but we have actually discussed about the inside details about 15th Finance Commission on our July 19th 2024 editorial analysis. So here the correct answer for the question is option C, 1, 3 and 4. Here we have given all the details that you have to remember. Now moving on, talking about the 77th question. It is about International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Many could have not known about this institution. It is actually a part of World Bank Group. So we discuss about international organizations and different organs under the international organizations. So based on that, this IBRD, it provides loan to middle income and credit worthy low income countries. So it is one of the organ of World Bank. If you know that, you can directly arrive at the answer option C, 1 and 3 only. Now moving on, look at this 80th question. So this is straight away taken from newspaper analysis or newspaper. PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. We have talked about that in detail on September 29 and 30th, 2024 newspaper analysis in detail. So if you have watched that video, you can directly arrive at the answer option D, 1, 2 and 3. Now look at this 84th question. This 84th question is talking about the functions of the governor of a state. So it is talking about the reservation of bill as well. So recently only Supreme Court has said that governors, they cannot reserve the bill more than 3 months. So it is a judgment given by Supreme Court. It is a landmark judgment, and based on that only this question has been framed. So we have discussed that in detail on April 12, 2025 very recently. We have talked about the veto powers for the governor and how the recent judgment has changed the power that has been given to governor. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option A, 1 only. Now moving on, look at this 89th question. It is also talking about governor of a state. We have talked in detail about the powers of governor. An overview we have seen about it on 5th February 2025. We have even said that there is immunity for the legal proceedings, especially the official actions when it comes to governor. So here the correct answer for the question is option D, 1, 2 and 3, and we have actually discussed in our daily newspaper analysis. Now look at this 90th question. This 90th question is talking about Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. UPSC usually takes one particular board every year. For example, 2 years back there was a coffee board, and another year there was about tea board, and this year there is about Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. We have actually covered this on our January 24, 2025 video, and we have discussed in detail about what are all the main functions under this particular board. So based on that, you can directly arrive at the answer option B, only 2. Now moving on, look at this 92nd question. It is a very simple question which talks about female figurine, dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro. What kind of material it is made of? So here it is a very easy answer, bronze. We have discussed that on January 6th, 2025. Even in the history compilation video, we have talked about Mohenjo-daro and the Harappan culture, which is based on Bronze Age. We call the age itself as a Bronze Age, and if you had that idea, you can directly arrive at the answer bronze. Now look at this 98th question, which talks about self-respect movement. The correct answer for this 98th question is option A, Periyar E.V. Ramasamy. And we have actually discussed this in our Shankar's summary in our history current affairs. So it was in news because this self-respect movement has completed 100 years in 2025. Here you can see the actual date. It was started in 1925 by E.V. Periyar, and it has been 100 years since it is 2025 right now. So far we have been discussing the set B's question. Sorry for mentioning it too late. And we have discussed literally 41 questions that has been reflected from our daily current affairs video. So it is not only helpful for the preliminary examination but also for the mains examination, and that is why you have to like, comment as well as share the videos of us, and you have to subscribe to our Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening to this particular video, and watch our video completely on the regular basis with a big consistency. We have lot of testimony from the toppers saying that this particular program has helped us to clear the examination. So once again, thank you for watching this video.